No, I guess not.
I think it's working. Tom and Hindu locking down the desk right now.
That's all it was. I'm sorry. A little bit early.
Energy working hard in match number 1 today, taking care of Team Dignitas. One was a close one. You're certainly going to want to watch the VOD. But as we move on, a little bit of a different story here. Mouse versus one of the stronger teams in the league. And as we see Rival come into the red and white, it's going to be interesting because I think Rival has kept up the steam that they've built, but Mouse on the other side have also improved after we saw them earlier on in the week.
Think about how Mouse have been, though, throughout the last year. If you take it into the remnants of the old team of Jermain, Dardez, and Cherryo.
Jermain.
They managed to go to World Championships. They managed to do well for themselves there. At least, get there was a big achievement for them. Then they had some roster changes. They've had to bring in BigManTingz and Nika. And Tingz was always the elephant in the room, so to speak, of like how well will he perform in the mid lane. Just this week earlier on, people starting to notice he has got the cojones to play that mid lane role.
He's the big boy in that mid lane. He's assisted in the jungle by Cherryo himself. This guy has been famous for his play style. Plays a little bit offbeat. Now here on the Hebo, I will fight aggro to the death of me. Hebo's just another assassin in this current usage right now. But at the end of the day, this is his assassin god pool. And the other side is all guardians and setup men, which vibes very well for BMT.
I do want to point out, though, the one thing about Mousesports today and going into the rest of the season, they win more games when Dardez is on a guardian than when he isn't.
Sure.
And that's been something that they need to realize themselves, that Dardez on a guardian is a good thing. Yeah, playing some unusual picks now and again can work and throw the other team off, but if you say every week that it's not going to work as well as you're hoping for.
I think that is I think that's a stat that is a little bit deceiving is the word I want to use, because it is absolutely true that Mousesports wins more games than when Dardez plays the Guardian, but I don't think it has everything to do with that. When you're playing the oddball picks in that support role, the rest of the team composition is going to change as well, and I think that it's all of the other things that happen.
Agreed.
When it comes down to Dardez's God pool, he's just going to play what he needs to play.
And it's not to do with the fact that, that it's him playing badly on that. It's
no,
actually,
not at all.
The team isn't changing around the fact that he's not on a Guardian. They're not changing their roles, which needs to happen to allow that to happen.
I would argue the opposite. I would argue that they are changing their roles, and that's why they're faltering.
I don't think they're changing well enough. That's the issue. They're not performing to the same level.
That certainly could be.
Rival, on the other hand, though, great season so far. Good World Championship run all the way to the final. Nice and easy.
Absolutely. Here, Rival, you can see Wlfy right there in the middle, and Vote on the end has been a focal point for us in the past. But recently, most recently, iceicebaby, he came through really big in the spring land, making sure to bring home the MVP.
iceicebaby's one of these players that the team themselves put a documentary recently, and they talk about Ice in that, where they're like, you know what, online, kind of good, kind of bad. It has good days, have bad days.
Sure.
At LAN, they wouldn't choose anybody else to take to LAN because he can perform so well. Now and again, you'll see signs of that in the regular season, and he can really dictate the pace of a game.
He's really that's a great point, that he dictates the pace of the game. He's the pace car for Team Rival, without a doubt. There's fantastic talent all across this roster. When it comes down to who's going to set the speed and the tone of the action, it's almost always out of the jungle for iceicebaby.
Big thing now then is what actually happens with Mouse Esports in this game, because it's all about the picks and bans as always. Rival are the ones that generally adapt on as the games go deeper, but if they get off to a good start, they'll just continue that and look for you to break it.
Yeah, exactly. Rival are really good adaptation teams. They're good when they play black. They're good when they're on the draw. These guys want to see what you bring to the battlefield and then react to that. So Mouse, this is kind of the puzzle cube that Rival want in the first place. They want to see what nonsense they're going to be thrown and then try to deal.
And the amount of nonsense has been changing. The Guan Yu's now a factor. Does that come into play at all? The extra healers of the Aphrodites. Not seen any hell yet. We've seen some Chunga. A couple of things have been moving around in terms of the meta where people now have to work out what they're going to go for.
We did see some hell in, forgive me, I do misrecall if it was either Brazil or Latin America earlier in the week.
Masters LAN, I believe, one of the teams.
Right, but no, just early this week, SGS, we had an international team play hell. She got stomped. But either way, first ban's out. No Guan, no Giannis, no Achilles, and no Laser Chicken. We do get the Athena. That's 3 games in a row. First pick Athena.
The rise of Athena is coming. She's very much a focal point because of her flexibility, not only because of what she brings to the table, the role she can play. Jungle, solo, support, all 3 viable, all 3 strong in the right circumstance.
Who played her mid? BigManTingz.
Oh, don't do that again. Well, he can't. Thank God he can't do that. I was like, nope, that game's done already. I do this out of Mouse, though. Give Jermain Wlfy early. Great hunter, very strong right now. Give one of your star players in the roster that go-to pick.
Jermain's the guy. Jermain is going to be doing the heavy lifting for Mouse if they want to find a victory. Give him the hard carry. I completely agree. Love that selection. Serket going to be the jungler of choice here.
Is it a jungler,
Serket going to be the assassin of choice
Saving you
for
already.
Mouse. Discordia and Ram.
See, aggro would have hung you out then and laughed at you about it. I'm like, no, you never know. We've seen Dardez do this to Cat a couple of times. It can be aggressive in the early game, but it is definitely an Ares style pick for me of feast or famine. If you get off to a good start, she'll run the game and help you out a lot. If she falls behind, it's going to struggle.
Agni going to be the mage of choice for Mouse.
The Tingz of choice. Because Ting's best god in that mid lane in the major role has been Agni, period.
Dardez played Agni support once.
Whatever. Let him do it again. Let's see how it works out this game. Right? It depends what he's against. It could be Rama or Athena. I don't think it'll work out that great.
Love the bans from Rival. Absolutely love the bans from Rival. Mouse bans are relevant, sure. But Habwa and Ymir bans, this is what I mean, is that Cherryo has 2 very different sides to his jungle play.
Yeah.
And both Habwa and the Ymir are there. Also, Ymir, an excellent choice for Dardez.
Funny enough, the one thing I do like in the Pro League now is you're starting to see teams focus on their banning strategies against individual teams and not against just, this is strong, this is weak. They will still take things out that are good against their composition, but they will take into account their opposition they're playing too. That's why that Habwa Ymir ban, in a normal game, you wouldn't normally see that, but against Mouse, it's very tailored and very focused.
When everybody has a nuclear missile, then it all comes down to gameplay.
Geb solo, right?
And when you look at Rival and Mouse, I'm ignoring you. Both of these teams have very strong characters. Discordia, the Wlfy, so it really just comes down to the gameplay here. Geb, Cerberus, Agni, Serket, and Wlfy. The traditional location, Cerberus short, Geb and Shibby long, Serket jungle, Agni mid.
I actually think it will be that here today as well, though.
That's what I said the last time.
I do feel this is a litmus test game for Mouse to see how they're measuring up in the Pro League. Rival Class is the #1 team in Europe right now. For good reason. They won the LAN. They also got to the finals of Worlds. EU #1 team is Rival, period. It's all there is to say about this. It's a big show. But Mouse, litmus test here. How good are they against the best, playing straight up? No unusual picks.
Exactly. This is 100% Rival supposed to win this game. Mouse have to climb. I believe you're siding on the top card.
I've got to go with Rival every single time here, but I am happy to see Mouse's composition.
I think it's a very big deal that Jermain is on the Wlfy. That could definitely tilt this game in Mouse's favor. Let's get right to the game.
Rival versus Mouse. That's going to be the set here. Finch and Tolly are going to be the ones on the cast. And I like that highlight there by Tom. Wlfy in the hands of Jermain. Someone who likes to fight on a god who likes to fight.
That's very true. And it's not going to be your traditional steroid in the form of attack speed, but more physical power gain through the passive. A lot faster to acquire those stacks now. And that's another reason why it's been so popular as of recent.
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit easier to get those stacks built up for Wlfy on that passive now, and it's easy for you all to let us know who you think's gonna win. You just gotta vote in the poll there in Mixer chat, and then Tolly and I can roast you later, maybe. Who knows? We'll see.
Probably gonna be Rival. I mean, if just looking at it on paper.
Probably.
But the composition from, I was about to say Elevate, but Mousesports, formerly Elevate, Mousesports, every time I hear Jermain, Dardez, Cherryo, yeah. But there is more standard towards what other teams are doing. It's not their traditional style. They have their Serket for Cherryo. It's gonna be interesting to see how he will pilot it, how he's going to be able to perform.
Well, let's go ahead and move into this first game here between Mouse and between Team Rival, who not just feel like the top card in this game, but kind of feel like just the top card everywhere. I mean, over this last year, has there been a more consistent team than Team Rival? I mean, they were so strong at Valencia. I believe they came in second to Dignitas. They were the #1 team at Super Regionals, second place at Worlds. They just won Masters. This team has looked so strong, not just online, but at LAN in both environments.
You know what I think it was? It was the fact that they broke Energy's LAN winning streak at the Gauntlet.
Right, yeah.
They beat them at the Gauntlet there during the beginning of Season 4 spring, and then once they transitioned into the Spring Masters, they didn't necessarily get to the finals as it was Obey winning it over Dignitas there, but definitely making an impact throughout the whole entirety of Season 4 and still doing a great job in Season 5. These 5 players just have so much synergy and chemistry, even making some content in a documentary just to display how much chemistry they have.
That's a good point. If y'all haven't seen it yet, certainly check it out. They did a great job with that, did Team Rival getting it pieced together, their documentary. And totally, I'm a firm believer that the world champs are the world champs until they lose. E-United are the ones to beat because they won. But Rival, I think, are the most consistent. And so that's always a good barometer to measure yourself against. And that's kind of what Mouse have to get done here, as they are playing a very traditional roster, which is not quite their style. How can they do when they're playing straight up here against, frankly, the most consistent team right now?
What makes them so consistent is their ability to confuse the opposition of how flexible their god pools are. They'll pull out these wacky strategies and different picks, and you know, whether it's Ares in the solo lane or whoever Callus really wants to play under the sun, it keeps the enemy teams guessing. And it's also their ability to commit to certain calls, whether it's offensively or defensively. It's very difficult to handle the pressure if Rival have a lead.
Now, Rival are the favorites here in this match. 90-10, though, that's a lot. Rival also very popular amongst our fans as well, and I think for good reason. These Rival guys are all full of personality. And Tully, there was a point where Deathwalker actually in a lot of trouble here against Nika. Is standing tall. Paralyzing Spit comes through, does good damage, but not going to be enough for that solo kill potential. But there was a point where Rival was just the team that team fought better than you and not necessarily the 5 best at their roles. They're starting to get claims to that territory. They're all very, very strong in their own right.
That's very true. They're always looking to get these small advantages in the solo lane. Deathwalker, unfortunately, not getting any advantage thus far, but the advantage that he will have in the later stages is the mobility he'll provide to his teammates, as Jermain going to get poked out slightly, trying to build those passive stacks. And Rival, they're known, so yeah, like you said, once they start grouping up, to just be so devastating.
And that's going to be even better when you mentioned with Deathwalker, with that team-wide buff that he's able to provide. That'd be a good ability if it was just for Amaterasu, right? The buff and damage or the buff and movement speed. But nope, that goes to everybody in that area around her. It's so good in team fights. You're repositioning for bonus damage. And Deathwalker, you know he'll be in the perfect spot to facilitate for Ice and Wlfy. In fact, even Wlfy providing some extra damage to the team, or to one person on his team. That's just kind of the name of the game for them.
Deathwalker really min-maxing his farm. Hugging the outside blue buff wall allowed him to keep the archers from entering the tower, so he didn't lose the gold under there, and he shared the experience with iceicebaby as the blue buff get completed. So we approach the 3-minute mark, though. iceicebaby, without his ultimate, forced to use the beats.
He did get a bit collapsed on there between Cherryo and BigManTingz, but he's okay thanks to the beads. Vote goes in aggressive with Jermain, but Dardez moves up into the lane and is going to help him trade it out. This is exactly what the Bruise Brothers likes to do, is box here in that 2v2, but this time looks like Rival come out a little bit better.
Vote's accuracy was just astronomical, the way he was able— oh, Callus trying to stop the back at the last second, but Jermain just getting that off the nick of time. But the way Vote was aiming, he was actually shooting through Dardez with those astral arrows, making sure that Jermain was going to feel it. And that's why Jermain was holding on to his dash at the end of it all.
Tully, look at these XP per minute charts. The dual lane of Rival, Callus and Vote, they've done a really good job starving out Dardez and Jermain a farm so far. I mean, that's a pretty significant amount to be behind here this early on.
There's also a wave and a half in the dual lane, as Dardez is kind of freezing it outside the tier 1 tower. Stygian Torment being traded out for the dazzling offensive, as Deathwalker not going to get pulled under that tower. Teleport not available for Nika. It was used about 30 seconds ago. Meanwhile, Meditation from Deathwalker is nearing that refresh point, so he can get a lot more mana in return.
Good trade out over in the solo lane, but still so far everyone's been able to remain relatively safe throughout this early game. This is what Rival does very well, though, is start to farm up small incremental advantages over you, and then as you alluded to earlier, when they group up, their team fight is just so strong, and they've drafted into a very strong team fight as well. All of these gods very good at setting up for each other, at isolating for one another. The synergy within their draft, I feel like, is very, very strong.
And with the Discordia, the early game presence, if we could just look at the player damage charts momentarily, as there is a blue buff invade, trying to steal it off. Deathwalker will get it, but he doesn't have an ultimate. Cherryo not going to commit to the last breath, fearful of Kalas's Defender of Olympus.
And that does mean that Kalas over here on the solo side of the map here now, but Deathwalker is going to be okay. Actually, Ice and Kalas go back in a little bit further, trying to force out Cherryo. Unfortunately, no jungle for Ice to come strip away, but they do force Cherryo back and can start looking for a farm elsewhere.
And Deathwalker having the passive of Discordia is going to be dealing so much extra damage to Nika, and Cherryo being next to him, not definitely wanting to be on the receiving end of that, as both soul leaders have completed their boots. Ice-Ice-Baby off the mark a little bit with that sash, forcing BigManTingz just to loop back around as the red buffs respawning for Mousesports. Likewise for Rival, not going to aggress towards the Gold Fury quite yet.
I like Kalas walked up like he was thinking about it, but that was not going to be the fight for him. Eventually, he does leave there on the Athena and rejoin with Wlfy in the mid lane, who is going with the Soul Reaver rush right now for Rival. And I know we've heard some thoughts here from Aggro. He's not the biggest fan of going with it, but it's a ton of early power, and they're putting it to work here against Dardez, who's been taken up into the air by Ice. Cherryo wants a target before he lands. Dardez still alive, and Kalas still alive, but now controlled by the Cobra's Kiss, and the poison does it. First blood goes over to Mouse.
Wlfy missed the unruly magic after Dardez landed back down, but taking Geb to the sky as a Nanjaan, you don't really deal that much damage considering Geb's passive. I think you only receive about 25% of a critical strike damage, and a lot easier to survive for Dardez. It bought enough time also for Cherryo to make that first blood. Could have been a little cleaner, missed a big chunk of damage with the Death Bane, but the last breath damage was just enough to take out Kalas's life.
And Jermain's ultimate made a big difference in that fight as well. That Dark Knights from across the map really set up for Cherryo to jump in while Ice had Dardez up in the air and was able to get a ton of good damage off on the back line.
That Darkest of Nights actually disrupted the flow of the follow battle Wlfy. He mistimed his unruly magic to find the last hit.
Now, going aggressive as Ice onto Nika. They're continually trying to make these invades on the blue buff happen. Unsuccessful this time, but either way pressures Nika back away from coming into the lane. Actually uses Stygian Torment, but Dazzling Offensive is available, and Deathwalker will be just fine.
With the Shusa focus from Nika, he's going to want to trade these cooldowns every single time, 10% off of 90. You're looking at 81-second cooldown out of Nika to still exploit Deathwalker before he finishes off that Genji's guard.
Wlfy's teamed up with Kalas to grab those Harpies on the left-hand side. Kalas is going aggressive. He's been positioning aggressive all game. Look at Deathwalker and the rotation he's making across the top side. That might be what Kalas is pushing up. They want to be here for the red buff spawn. They don't quite be able to strip that one away, and there's no fight either.
Not able to really do much about it. Both of these guys, the frontliners between Kalas and Deathwalker, want an invitation to the party, but Mousesports not opening the door for them. No small opening for Rival to exploit quite yet, but they're fine with that considering their composition. The ROM late game is really troublesome.
Kalas uses the taunt to interrupt Cherryo's combo. That means Vote can come in and put in some good damage, which he will happily do. Wlfy gets severely poked there by BigManTingz with a good jump to avoid the damage coming out from the bombs, but I believe BigManTingz able to make that. There was no problem.
Could have been a lot worse if that bomb did connect. Could have potentially looked for more of a follow-up. Cherryo with the last breath could have looked to seal the deal, as their beads still available for BigManTingz, and the Aegis could have been available for Wlfy. And that's why he went for the Aegis, worried really about Cherryo's damage over time. And with that 2-second duration of invulnerability, it's good enough to survive against the Circuit, especially if you can also absorb that basic attack, consuming all the poisons.
Now, Cherryo's trying to punish this proxy farm from Deathwalker. The rotation's coming in. Dazzling Offensive is going to deter him, but this is what's set up for Deathwalker to make the rotation to red buff earlier. That and all that free movement speed that he gets just off that first ability. So Deathwalker using this Amaterasu, I think, very, very well.
Very risky from what he's doing, but he understood that Cherryo was still on the left side of the map when he started to do that, but the mobility from the Circuit with the speed buff is one to be respected. Just now hitting level 9, however. iceicebaby with about a level and a half of a lead, getting the better end of Cherryo. That's more known for his Guardian junglers and trying to play setup crew, not necessarily always the assassins to make the highlight plays.
And it's a little surprising. Cherryo has spent more time trying to help out in the solo lane, while Ice has been free to farm. Despite the first blood, really, that Cherryo's had, Ice is still farming a little bit more efficiently than Cherryo because some of this time is spent over here in solo.
It's a lot about the shared experience, trying to make sure that iceicebaby is going to solo a lot of these camps, whereas Cherryo has been sharing a few waves here and there whenever he's rotating to middle or in the solo lane. As a result, he's not going to be able to hit that level 12 marker first to get that also important Blink Relic before iceicebaby will.
And we were talking about this earlier, but then they immediately started fighting as Cherryo goes aggressive. The Strife catches him, but he can jump away. Wlfy's gone with this Soul Reaver, and we just saw that proc happen on the Cherryo. I mean, how do you like this start as opposed to going like Mage's Blessing and maybe the Warlock Staff or a stacking option?
I don't mind it if you're looking for the big burst picks right off the bat, but with Dardez playing the Geb, it's so difficult finding a kill onto anybody with the Geb shield. And then you got the Geb passive that really hard counters iceicebaby's intentions in the early game. So honestly, probably better off to go for the Warlock Staff immediately.
Cherryo goes in on Ice Ice. The bombs are there, but Beads allows him to get away from the last breath. Jermain drops down the Darkest of Night's ultimate as well, but still, Mousesports not able to find a kill after committing 2 ults.
And the thing is, immediately back to farming. iceicebaby can sustain with his Assassin's Blessing after he completes the speed buff. Nika was not there in the nick of time to be able to steal it away as Deathwalker doesn't know when the speed buff is respawning. It will come up in less than 10 seconds. Could easily shut down Cherryo that doesn't have the last breath.
Well, also jumping in is Nika on the Cerberus to try and start that fight, and Wlfy has to retreat. Defender of Olympus won't be there in time. Nika shuts Wlfy down. Meanwhile, Deathwalker was able to steal that speed buff away and try and slow down Cherryo's farm a bit.
Great stun from Nika. Oh, that solo kill from VOD, not on the mark with some of his snipes, but bullying Jermain so heavily that he has a 2-level lead. He's able to really also freeze the lane right outside the tower. And unfortunately for Wlfy, he got stunned out by Nika's paralyzing spit into the Stygian Torment, so he didn't have time to really drop that Aegis, and it was a risky call to go for Aegis because obviously at one point you want to survive against Cherryo's last breath, but another, you got to respect the forms of CC of Nika potentially rotating before the level 12.
Ends up falling in the mid lane, does Wlfy. Defender of Olympus being channeled just too late there by Collis to provide enough mitigation to help him out, and Wlfy ends up falling, and a big global ultimate has fallen, but they've got to figure out something to do about Deathwalker. He's just been proxy farming his butt off, and that frees him up to rotate all across the map, really. He was waiting on the speed buff farm, rotated over to red. Deathwalker's doing whatever he wants.
He's got the maxed out aura now, so his mobility is through the roof. Even if you do catch him slipping and try to do anything to him, if you overcommit to the abilities, well now, cue the Benny Hill theme song music as he's kind of running around you in circles with just so much increased mobility as VOD trying to survive in the 1v2. Just rolls back into safety. Cherryo not wanting to commit that last breath.
And Jermain needed this. VOD has had a lead on them since almost the beginning of the game. Collis and VOD did such a good job starving Dardez and Jermain a farm early. As Sash lands onto Nika, he'll go up, and there's a not very friendly welcoming party waiting on him when he lands. The Golden Apple going to get that done. A nice collapse onto the over-aggressive Nika.
Nika had the timer of the speed buff, but didn't really see how many people from Rival were coming to intercept that. And on the flip side, Deathwalker, who stole away Cherryo's speed buff before, he's going to try to go for it again, but look at Cherryo.
What a play!
Oh, he got spotted, though.
Ends up recognizing it, so now the Dazzling Offensive is going to come out. I like the idea, though, from Cherryo to wait. Agni Bombs come in as Cherryo's brought down to half health. Dardez is here as well, but Deathwalker's undeterred. Actually puts in really good damage on the BigManTingz and hits him with the mirror.
That kind of hurt a little bit. You know that chart? The
inside,
like the doctor's chart. It's like, how much does it hurt? 0 to 2, 3 to 5. It's about a 8 to 10 for BigManTingz as he has to back to base just to heal up.
Jermain drops down the Darkest of Night so he can contest, but it won't be enough. 2-man stun comes out, but Rival grab the Gold Fury for themselves. Deathwalker now controlled by Cherryo, but it's hard really to control this guy, even with a Cobra's Kiss. He's going to continue chasing on Nika and has the Defender of Olympus coming.
Not going to confirm the damage with a dash. Really afraid of the Stygian Torment afterwards. Without the Dazzling Offensive, not really having any sort of CC immunity, so he's just going to back on out.
Mouse can get a couple picks if they want to, but unless they're on the Deathwalker, they're going to continue to have problems. The highest level in the game tied up there with VOD, and he's free to rotate around the map, create these mismatches for Team Rival to continually pressure out Cherryo and starve him of farm and help Ice develop a bit of a lead. Like, he even needs the speed buff with that aura. I mean, he's everywhere.
That's true. He's just gonna be able to not only boost himself, but his teammates. He's also got that attack speed slow aura. As long as he gets hit by some of those basic attacks, Jermain not gonna have an easy time once some of these late game team fights start rolling around. His Rival doing a good job slowly building a lead as they get the Gold Fury a minute ago. And a 3,000 gold lead, not the biggest at the end of the day, about 2,500 or so, but the experience could be a little slipping if they're still able to continue this proxy farming and speed buff steals and more these neutral objectives for Rival side.
And I feel like that's why we saw Nika take that one spill, as Deathwalker is, of course, here for the speed buff respawn, and Cherryo nowhere to be found, so he will certainly miss out on this. But Nika's trying to match Deathwalker's aggression, I felt like, by coming into the jungle and trying to counter-steal something to make up for Deathwalker being in their own jungle, but instead, he just met 3 members of Rival and got punished.
And the thing is, if Cherryo needs to make sure that there's more than just himself or BigManTingz right around the corner. They need some more follow-up. Dardez potentially needs to be there right off the bat to apply that chain CC of the Cataclysm and the knock-up. And as long as you can catch Deathwalker before he drops the ultimate, then you get off the last breath, the basic attack to pop the poisons. That could be enough burst damage, but it's already, I think, too late. Level 16 with a shell upgraded to absorb those basic attack stacks. That's going to negate what Cherryo wants to do.
Vote gonna box out with Jermain, but Deathwalker's here in duo lane. You might think he has teleport, he doesn't with that shell and meditation. My man's just zooming around the map at this point. He's free to rotate wherever he wants to. Jermain is able to escape from the pressure, but Deathwalker, undeterred, continues to push, create some space for Vote to farm. Meanwhile, Nika's just gonna continue proxying on the right-hand side.
There's not really much he could do on the right, so he'll continue to farm as Wlfy will be forced to beads. You're not gonna be able to choose the target at the last breath by blinking through the wall. Stygian Torment up in the sky he goes. Nika, can he survive this one?
Nika drops right back down to the tier 1 tower. Takes a good bit of damage from the tower itself, but he is still alive. Deathwalker has made his way here and is ready to help out with iceicebabby as they try and cut off.
They're going to catch him. They didn't know that he went towards the Fire Giant side, but Nika went back north. If he continued to go south, I think he was A-okay.
He might have had a chance to come down and just back instead, but the path that he took allowed Deathwalker to rotate in. Now he'll try and collapse underneath the tier 1 tower. BigManTingz has already used the bead. Dazzling offensive is going to stun, but the Geb shield is there for the cleanse. The shots come out from Vote, but nowhere near enough to go through that shield.
It's not too much of a deterrence, though. Keep in mind, left-hand side as Jermain is making the rotation happen alongside Wlfy. Deathwalker still being that nuisance, zoning everyone. Will intercept Jermain with a nice taunt into the strife. Gets the Geb shield for the moment, but rolling in is Vote.
Vote's now here to put in the shot. Aegis keeps Jermain alive. He drops the Darkest of Nights, and Team Rival have to disengage for the moment, but Dardez has been excellent with these shields as Deathwalker gets pushed underneath the tier 2. Cobra's Kiss pulls him back. He's still not dead! Deathwalker's still alive! What?
It was the shell that saved him just at the last second. iceicebaby takes out the life out of Cherryo. Nika gets a 2-man Stygian Torment here. Deathwalker's still very low, but he's sustaining every single time he switches his aura.
And the meditation to go along with that he just used as well to top everybody off. Tier 1 tower comes down, as well as Cherryo falls to the pressure from iceicebaby. Rival, through these slow cuts over time from Deathwalker, have built themselves up about a 3,000 gold lead, and they have the team fight advantage too because of how far ahead Deathwalker is.
You're right. It's a death by 1,000 cuts the way Rival is playing this game because it's only 3-2 in the kill column. You would think Mousesports should not be that far behind considering it's only 1 kill deficit. But that's been not the case whatsoever with the 1 Gold Fury from Rival about 5 minutes ago. They could be on their path towards the second one.
And what Deathwalker has done to Cherryo is what's really important, because look at the experience gap. It's a 3-level lead for Ice. Not because Ice is just like outplaying Cherryo, it's because there's nothing for Cherryo to farm. Look where Deathwalker is again. He's at the red bump. It's not even spawning. My man's just up here hanging out.
It's a 1v3, but he doesn't care. Make it out a 1v4. Cherryo right around the corner. Mousesports can't do much against this level 17 Amaterasu, as there was just a lot of proxy farming in the earlier stages that went unpunished.
Now the blink is down from Cherryo, unable to find Wlfy. And Deathwalker going to keep hammering away at Dardez unless someone comes to stop this. Dardez just kind of stomping. He's like, can you please get this guy off me? Cataclysm into the shockwave, into the bombs. Deathwalker might need some assistance as Mouse are able to come in and grab the Gold Fury. That was Rival who were on it. So that is a big steal that comes out from Nika.
Oh, Nika jumping over the wall of the Gold Fury pit. Up in the sky goes Vote. Who's the target? Is he in range? He gets off to third one. Also on the mark. Deathwalker in a 1v2 situation. Needs to heal up, but the dash was intercepted. The shell trying to buy him a moment.
And he is going to be able to just barely skate out of there. A couple more in hands, but they're not enough. The heal comes out from Deathwalker. Jermain desperately wants this kill. Taunted back in by Collis. Gab Shield to cleanse that, but Rival have regrouped and now they're trying to sustain.
Oh, the blink from Dardez trying to do what he can. The strife on top of Cherryo forces him to disengage. Nika with the paralyzing spit will not be enough to find the kill. BigManTingz very healthy. It's on to Vote. He uses the Aegis. Ice on the backhand side looking for someone.
He couldn't find it though. He tried to use the ring bounce, but Collis blinks in, pulls Dardez right back into damage. He pays for it though with his life. BigManTingz trades that one out. But the Gold Fury strip totally, that's huge from Mouse to not let things get further out of control.
It mitigates the bleeding for the moment, and Mousesports has a great composition for the late game, so even if they will be behind about 5 to 5.5 items versus a fully completed 6 items at Arrival, they're still in good spirits with BigManTingz piloting the Agni. He has those bomb stuns from a distance, top of the fact that he can drop it over walls, but it's pretty easy for the rest of Rival to get in there considering Callus's blink, iceicebaby with a blink on for himself could easily disrupt any sort of continuation that BigManTingz has.
iceicebaby does track down Cherryo, who's just a little bit too far out of position down here by those back harpies, but I mean, Deathwalker was keeping like 3 people busy on the top end while the whole rest of Rival were on the Gold Fury. I mean, they don't have the best confirm in the world. I mean, with Wlfy, I mean, Discordia does plenty of damage, but they can't let Nika just come in and take that on the backside.
They needed to kill him immediately. After the Gold Fury was stolen, Nika still had his jump to escape behind the Gold Fury pit. And that needed to be a hard target switch. Without Rival doing that, there was a small window that Nika was able to secure.
Now, Nika does have the blink that might have been the potential problem as Rival want to continue aggressing onto Mouse, or rather Deathwalker does. That's kind of just his thing right now. Tier 1 tower on the right-hand side appears to be the target, and it is very low. Vote should be able to bring it down without too much trouble.
Deathwalker has a good bit, man. Whenever you can just go in 1v4, that's like the best bit for a solo laner.
Yeah, that's a good bit, right? Hey, guys, you can't kill me.
Nice bit.
He's 2-0-2 at this point, and they can't touch him. 12,000 damage.
If we could just see how much damage mitigated or how much damage he took in general, it's very interesting.
Yeah, that would be a good one to get a look at, just to see Deathwalker's potential impact here, just in how much he's been able to receive from everybody else here so far this game. I mean, he really has done a good job walking forward, creating space for the rest of Team Rival to operate in. And look at him, just being a nuisance. Dardez, just at where his Tier 1 used to be. And Deathwalker's kind of up here all alone at this point. Now Wlfy and Vote are coming in to join as the strife comes out. Bomb lands on a Vote. That's good damage, but he does not overreact and use any kind of relics.
Nothing quite yet at Arrival as they're still kind of looking for these picks as Deathwalker continues to lead the charge. He's been that shining star that Rival really needed this game with this Amaterasu that was picked towards the very end stages. And you know how Giannis is normally heavily prioritized. I wouldn't be surprised if Amaterasu sees the light of day as well with this kind of performance out of Deathwalker.
They drop the Fire Giant, though, and instead go right with the target switch onto Nika. Good damage, but they get the stun out in response. Now they have the apple on top of Dardez, who has to Gab Shield himself, but on the backside comes Cherryo, creates problems for Wlfy, actually jumps right back up and right back down. Defender of Olympus to keep alive on the backside, and Jermain is able to find the shot, and the Deathwalker finally brings him down, but Cherryo can't stand either.
The poisons continue to spread here. Nika, he's very low. He's going to be able to just barely survive. The blink from Dardez, a little too late. iceicebaby's able to heal up, but Vote takes out Nika on the backhand side. It's a 2-for-3. Rival are just all over the place.
Vote was at least able to find another kill there, so it ends up being 3 for 2, and it does come out in favor of Rival, especially with Vote still alive. He's going to tank up the Fire Giant for the moment with all that life steal. Dardez comes right back into the shots. Gab Shield on himself keeps him alive. Now Collis gets hit by the bombs, but Vote rolls in and gets it done. Next target to be BigManTingz, and he has no hope. Full-on deicide for Team Rival, and they're going to come claim their prize.
Vote had so much patience to be able to just hug the backside of the wall, use the astral arrows over it to make sure that the bomb stuns weren't going to be rolling through. And in desperation, BigManTingz, he actually dashed forward aggressively, trying to get there a little bit closer, so he didn't have that option to escape the clutches. And not only that, Cal is surviving just in the nick of time as well. Puts a staple at his rival, secures the Fire Giant 24 minutes in, 10-5 with a 5,000 goal lead, which is only going to stretch another 5,000 once these 4 towers are stripped away out of Mouse.
That is a problem. That's like money in the bank, and Team Rival are ready to go make a withdrawal. And they did a good job balancing that Fire Giant between the two of them as well, with Vote and Ice there kind of juggling that aggro so they could bring it down. But what a fight. Patience from Team Rival. Even with an early drop in that fight, Mouse actually got off to a good start to that fight with Jermain's damage. But either way, Team Rival were able to bring it out in the end, and now they're the ones in the driver's seat.
Still grouped up, though, as Mousesports. They're not really deterred with the Fire Giant squad from Rival. They're still trying to make a plays with Cherryo on the left side. Behind the goal, Fury Deathwalker leads the charge, sees 3 members out of Mouse.
Yeah.
Can't really contest this goal, Fury, however. Mousesports want to delay this Fire Giant for as long as possible. So they wanted to see if there was going to be anybody slipping, and they dropped that sentry ward even behind the goal, Fury.
Mouse, though, finally put an end to the bit. Deathwalker is killable. He is mortal, as it turns out, 2-1 and 3, but it's still not going to be an easy task. He's going to continue to be that nuisance on the front side of fights, trying to keep Mouse pushed back so that Vote and Wlfy can just free cast, because at this point they've got a ton of damage.
4 members strong out of Rival on the left, trying to make it happen. iceicebaby kind of lingering between the left and the mid lane, trying to see if anybody's out of position. Will group up in the mid lane, trying to get the wave behind themselves. Not going to do it without the minion wave. Want to make sure that they eliminate that backdoor protection. I don't expect Mousesports to really try to defend this tier 2 tower. If they fail here, they're going to probably lose the Phoenix immediately after. So playing it more safe than sorry. But Rival also playing it more safe by going for the tier 2, last remaining tier 2 on the right instead of a Phoenix.
And this is kind of what Rival want to do, right? They want to push their gold lead way out in front. Almost better than a Fire Giant is having, you know, an extra 5K gold in pocket that Mousesports can't hope to overcome. So that's what they're going to do, grab their safe gold from the map. They'll have a chance to back and spend it, and then they still have plenty of items to finish off. Still blessings on 3 members there for Team Rival. Still plenty for Mouse to do in terms of finishing off their items as well. So they're going to be feeling this gold difference.
This is them crossing their T's, dotting their I's, putting their initials here, putting that signature there in the next page. Yeah, this is what Rival is basically doing before they seal the fate of game number 1. Mousesports are hoping for a miracle at this point. It's not necessarily the experience, because you got the level 20s where you want them.
Right.
BigManTingz and Jermain at that last point. But item-wise, it's struggling. 4 items only for BigManTingz. He has the blessing still, only the tier 1 version of what could be either Spear of Magus or the Spear of Desolation, so he's not going to be dealing as much damage as he would want, even though that he is at the top of the player damage charts.
And can we take a look here for iceicebaby? Because I think that's the Shield of Regrowth he's decided to go with there in that 4th slot for him.
Yes.
Which is a really good pickup for that Naja, because that 2, I mean, that's going to be doing plenty of healing for him, an easy way to proc it.
Going to have so much mobility on top of this, and here's at 40% cooldown reduction between the Jotuns, between that Shield of Regrowth, between the Transcendence. He's going to have a decent amount of physical power, and anyone in his path, or he's going to go for the squishies rather out of Mousesports. And as long as he can catch any target before that Gep Shield, that can be Rival's start.
And that's a good point. Dardez did a good job with these Geb Shields. They're going to need him to be on point with the cleanses, with that extra protections, but Team Rival have been pulling the strings from every angle, and they're ready to push right now. Deathwalker goes right in with that Emperor's Armor ticking so that the Phoenix is doing even less shots.
Trying to make something happen, but they're waiting to see if Mousesports react. Dardez has Blink available, but it's Nika engaging first, forcing out the beats, but it's Nika that's going to get blown up by iceicebaby.
Cherryo wants to come in on Vote, who had to use the Purification beads, but now he's the one looking for the shots. He finds Nika on the backside. Aegis gets him out of dodge as well. 5v4 in Team Rival's favor. Phoenix at half health, and now Rival can regroup and make another siege.
But with a little too low, he's looking for something to life still. Not going to find it in purple or the red, but still 4 members of Rival around the left side. Phoenix Cherryo trying to go a little to him. The rest of his team was not in position to do the follow-up.
Erratic behavior, just too good. Wlfy able to evade the Circuit on the backside of the fight. BigManTingz going to poke from range, but I don't think Deathwalker cares. Dashes in. It is almost enough damage to get the kill, but the Geb Shield keeps him alive. Collis taunts Dardez right back into the damage, but they don't even need to worry about that because they've already got the Phoenix team rival now with Vote rejoining them, are looking very clean here in game 1.
They could still go for the middle Phoenix if they want, but 12 seconds remain on Nika. That could still go back into it with the Stygian Torment. Fire Giant respawns now, so they need to figure out what Rival want to do, and with the enhanced Fire Giant amplifying to 30% extra structure damage, it wouldn't be a bad idea to secure that one before the final blow.
And with all the love I've been giving to Deathwalker here this game, let me make sure we isolate how well Ice has been playing. He's 4-0-7. He's the top on Team Rival in terms of player damage. He's just been making sure that he isolates the right targets. He's just tanky enough to where you don't want to all-in commit on him with the Magi's Cloak as well to help him out. I mean, he's been playing out of his mind.
And that's why the Amaterasu was very tempting for him in this build, or in this composition rather. Rival are known to kind of allow Deathwalker to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Between whether it's Gebwalker, Fwashwalker, Ares Walker, right? The Amaterasu is one of these goddesses that kind of struggles in the laning phase against most gods, but when Nika plays the Cerberus, it's not the end of the world where Amaterasu is going to suffer so much that she's just not doing her job in the late game. He had the ability to proxy farm without any punishment. Cherryo did not go and punish the Amaterasu, and as a result, there was 3, maybe 4 consecutive speed buff steals that Rival stripped away out of Cherryo, giving a significant lead to iceicebaby to start transitioning into these gold Furies.
Now the call is going to be this Phoenix on the solo side of the map. That's going to be the short lane where Team Rival are grouping up. Deathwalker will be there momentarily because, again, he's Amaterasu, so even though he's a ways away, he zooms across the map. Bombs come out, not going to be able to pop any of those Magi's Cloaks out the noxious fumes, and Rival can regroup for their push.
Left side is pushed out long enough that there's no fire mains coming anytime soon. If Rival want to commit towards a wave as well at the left side, they have to wait a long time, but the Fire Giant still lasting for 3 more minutes. Rival kind of waiting to see if Mousesports going to bite, but Mousesports, they don't want anything to do with this outside their Phoenix. If they want to fight, it has to be within the protection, or at least within the damage that the Phoenix is going to assist with. Get that 1-man extra advantage.
Now it's going to be Nika who blinks in. That does mean that the ultimate comes out from Vote. He's taking shots from the sky, but eyes on Cherryo. He's waiting on his opportunity to blink in and go in the backside. Everyone held onto their beads, though, from Team Rival, so Cataclysm from Dardez is going to be the play, and now Cherryo goes in on Vote. He does drop down the last breath as well, but everyone's still relatively healthy on the side of Team Rival. They can regroup and start looking for the dazzling offensive from Deathwalker. Everyone evades it, and Rival putting damage onto the Phoenix.
And that was enough to find the right side. Phoenix, as BigManTingz needed to heal away. It was a 5-on-4 window that Rival had for about 5 seconds. That's all they needed. It forced the hand out of Mousesports, where Dardez needed to go in, get that Blink Cataclysm online, but Rival were so patient that they still didn't aggress inside the Phoenix until all the cooldowns from Mousesports were stripped away. They survived the engagement from Cherryo's last breath, and even with BigManTingz coming in, everyone else from his teammates were not healthy enough to follow up.
And it's going to be even harder now without those 3 different levels of initiation. Nika has to jump in and use Stygian Torment, and the damage from Vote is just too strong. Deathwalker's low, but Nika's lower. Vote is the one that finds the shot. Collis continues to tank up the Phoenix for a moment, but he can just back and come right back in.
Defender of Olympus is available. iceicebaby can make a play happen considering he has the Blink and the ultimate. Who's the target? It could be Jermain on the backhand side, but they're looking to burn the Phoenix instead.
Cherryo jumps in, but immediately taunted and controlled, and Deathwalker is going to hunt him down. Collis gets the last hit. Mid-Phoenix falls. iceicebaby is able to take down Jermain as well, and Team Rival are coming in trying to take down the Titan. I think they've got a good chance to do it. Mousesports, with only BigManTingz to defend, don't stand a chance.
No, definitely not. This is Rival's game number 1 in the best-of-3 set. Vote showing off a little bit. I kind of wanted to see Vote get punished for that one, but Rival looking so solid despite losing earlier in the week to Dignitas 1-2, coming up strong against Mousesports in this first game.
Yeah, and they looked clean, totally. That's the word that I want to use for it. They played so well around Deathwalker's lead. They made sure they put Cherryo behind early, and that freed up iceicebaby to just kind of run rampant this game.
It's hard to really shut down Rival, and when they get that kind of a lead, they're able to mobile their own units together to go for this objective. Mousesports need to find those small openings.
Yeah.
But once this Amaterasu got to that level 14, 15 marker, that's when the speed buffs invades happen. And from there, Cherryo, not playing his traditional Guardians, struggled.
Well, who's going to be your MVP from that game? I mean, Deathwalker, a great choice. So is iceicebaby. And you can't even forget all the damage Vote was doing, too. So there's a lot of good choices.
I'm excited to see what you guys at home thought the MVP was.
Yeah, I want to get those choices, too. Remember, at this point now, not just Cherryo, but all of Mousesports, I got to find some kind of way to bounce back here in Game 2. They're all going to be best of 3s now. Let's go ahead and get over to the desk, and we'll have them break it down.
Thanks a lot, boys. Tom and Hendry still breaking this one down. iceicebaby did it. I mean, this is one where the wonderful thing about sports or competition here is the fact that it's not scripted. And you can't sit here and say that XYZ is going to happen. You don't really get to craft a storyline. Well, Hindu and I got a chance to sit here and talk about how successful iceicebaby has been. We showed some replays, and then he crushed it in the game.
He did, but a lot of that came through Deathwalker. Deathwalker was allowed to run rampant. The first 25 minutes of the game, though, very equal up until that point. Like, Mouse weren't too far behind the entire time. Problem was Deathwalker was so far ahead. He managed to invade the jungle considerably, and I expected the fans would vote for MVP for this.
Exactly. I mean, Deathwalker, Deathwalker really took advantage of his opposition, so he does wind up being the most valuable player. Nailed that on the head. And when it comes down to it, DW really allowed his jungler to be the presence that he was, and that's no surprise. This is something that we have seen time and time again. The right side of the team rival team does a ton of work.
You know what? Rival were really exploiting the advantages they had, and it really came from Amaterasu more than anything else. But Mousesports in the team fights did look cohesive. They performed well, survived the engagements, turned around and counter-attacked. I'm looking at Nika, and I feel they need to start giving Nika something that can do something in lane, because he got bullied by an Amaterasu early. He's playing a Guardian, obviously, early on. But outside of that, he didn't do anything. He needs to be doing something in these games, not just letting Deathwalker do what he wants.
Here's the uncomfortable truth, Hindu man. I'm not sure there is a pick that Nika can do something on versus Deathwalker.
He just needs something that's going to be more involved in the team fights or able to rotate quicker to make sure he's answering back. It felt like he was very lackluster at turning up to the engagements a lot of the time. And it's not necessarily on him, it's a team call too.
Sure,
like about in those rotations. But he needs to be in this game a little bit more.
Yes.
I mean, towards the end of the game there, 1 and 5, didn't really do much. Existed. You can exist as a solo laner, sure, but make sure the other solo laner is just existing too, not carrying the game in his own back.
I do have to agree with you on there. Unfortunately, I think this is where there is a talent divide. And an important part when there is a talent divide isn't to just sit there and go, okay, you're worse than the other guy. Good luck, homie. You got to help that as a team. You got to help that as a unit, because that exists all throughout the league. Rival, even in all their proficiency, do have talent deficiencies when it comes to certain matchups. You can look at Hunters and say that maybe Emilito's better than Vote in some games or whatnot. And what happens there? Vote does what he can, and he combines with his teammates, because there is no such thing as the 1v1. I want to see help from Mouse on the solo side of the game.
BigManTingz has adapted into this squad really well and has set up Mouse to be in a really good spot actually coming into summer now. Just by watching that game against Rival, I feel they've got something more to them than they showed in spring. They've adapted and they're learning, but they need some extra solidarity in the solo lane. Whether that's replacing Nika or having Nika get on something a little bit more aggressive, something that can stand and bang a little bit better and perform in the lane to not allow an Amaterasu to run rampant.
You and I can definitely agree on that one. We'll see if